marketplace listings, or just Facebook groups in general. People just don't understand how good Facebook is for real estate specifically. And so when you go through those Facebook groups, it's not about you telling people how great you are. Okay? I beat out the #1 RE/MAX team in the world continually in Facebook groups. You know, they go, well, I'm local. I've always lived in Nashville, Tennessee. People actually get angry, and that's why they don't respond to any of the comments, because they all sound the same and they look the same. And you basically told them, hey, I'm just as replaceable as everybody else in this comment.
All right, folks, we're back. We're back, and we've got, a pretty awesome speaker today. I've known him for quite a while, a few years now. Through a couple of different opportunities, and he's always impressed me with a really, really big can-do attitude. Very resourceful. I call him a master marketer, and just great at this game of real estate. And one topic that I've really loved him go on about is how to generate business, how to grow a business, how to get more transactions, more deals, how to help more buyers and sellers without necessarily buying the business, paying for leads, how to use that hustle and how to use that energy to attract people and get more deals. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to introduce Robert, right? Who is amazing. But I'll have him introduce himself. Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about how'd you get so good at this game of real estate? What does your business look like right now? What's your role look like right now? Because I see you as a coach, as an instructor, as a community builder. How do you describe your role right now? And go for it. Introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, man. Well, first off, I always love meeting with you, man. I just get so excited when we get to chat. You've in more ways than you know, you've been an inspiration throughout my career. I mean, you were one of the first people you probably were the first person I ever got a script from, actually. So just thank you. So as far as my background and how I got into real estate, it was pretty straightforward. I worked in corporate. Very high up in corporate, actually. I did contract negotiations and PR, and then I saw some really bad things happening into the company. And what you'll learn about me, and you already know, is that I'm very thorough and I document everything. So I was like, I'm going to be the good Samaritan. I'm going to document this really bad stuff that's happening. I'm going to bring it to HR, and they're going to squash this, right? They're going to handle it. I did exactly that, and they looked at me. And they said, none of that's true. And it's one of those things like irrefutable, right? We're talking video, audio, written emails. I'm like, what? And then they go, also, you're the problem, and we're canceling your contract.
Oh, wow. The problem is you.
Right after, it gets even worse. They knew my wife was just in a car accident and the car was totaled. And they knew that we were getting married. We were fiance at the time, right? That we're getting married in a week. They also knew those things. So they were so deep. And so then I was like, God, I have one of the most unique skill sets. I was like 26 at the time. There are not many people who are like in those Wall Street high-rise towers, negotiating contracts for billion-dollar companies, being flown to conventions because I'm the face of the company and things like that. What the heck do I do with this? What do I do with this? And that's where real estate came in. I had not done well financially at that time. So I was broke. We wanted to get out of California because I was literally worked right across from LAX, could throw a rock and hit a plane. And
every 5 minutes, right? Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. And then my office was a high rise. I could see the planes all the time. And so then, I really just researched real estate and I was like, oh, okay. I think this is just, I could care less, being real. I could care less about houses. It was just where I felt I could make the biggest impact with my skill set in someone's life. That's why I chose real estate. It wasn't because I watched HGTV and thought the colors were pretty. It's because I was like, I have the skill set and I actually want to make a difference in this world. And real estate seemed like the best vessel. But just so everybody's listening and why this conversation will lead into what it is. My wife was pregnant at the time. We moved to a new state. New city, so I had no friends, no family, no sphere. We were in debt because remember I had lost my contract, and so I had no money, and my wife was not working. I was the sole provider, and so even if I wanted to buy leads, I couldn't. I had nothing to buy them with. But I also had no backup plan. I had no other option than making real estate work.
Failure was not an option. Failure was not an option for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Robert, it's almost I actually have the opposite story when I started in real estate, but I almost wish that as new agents, that we were prohibited from using our credit card like the first 90 days we're in the business. I wish that were the case because could write a whole case study on what not to do with money when you're getting started. Because you don't know what you don't know. And
Mhm.
there's all these shiny objects. I almost wish I would have started with zero. I would have been much more resourceful. I would have been much more resourceful, right? But
Mhm.
water under the bridge, water under the bridge. So that's your starting point. You had your back against the wall. Limited resources. That's when the creativity, in my experience, that's when the creativity comes out. The
Oh yeah.
resourcefulness comes out, right? Like
Oh yeah.
there's no other option. I think having a little bit too much money as a business owner can be a bad thing when you're early in the process. When you're early in the process, like I proved it actually,
Absolutely. I mean,
100%.
I beat
So
out all the people who had money. That's how I
wow,
succeeded, right? If
love
money
it.
was what made people successful, then I wouldn't have been able to get all the clients that I did because every client I got for the most part already had some other real estate agent they had worked in the
Of course,
past.
of course,
So
one hundred
clearly it
percent.
wasn't money. It wasn't money.
100%. So Robert, how would you? Because there's always these shiny objects, and there's always one of the big red flags I see when I talk. I'm on the forums a lot, on Facebook, on Reddit. I see all these new agents. They're asking, okay, what leads should I buy? And that's the first. They assume that's what you got to do to play the game. Like, hey, I've only got, and they always have these budgets, $300 a month or a couple $100 a month. What leads should I buy? And I'm like, well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad I'm seeing this because number one, you can't afford it, right? And number two, you have way more options than buying, internet leads, right? Because that's a
Yeah.
very specific way to grow your business. It's very specific. And it takes a specific skill set and it takes a specific experience and all this work. And the likelihood that you as a newbie agent is going to crush that before you run out of money is, I don't want to say it's zero, but it's pretty close to zero, right?
Well, they
I
call it
try to explain
non-zero,
that to
where
them.
the fragment's so
No,
the fraction's so small that it's
it's
basically
it's it's
zero.
it's it's non-zero, but it's pretty close to zero. You can hit a home
Listen,
run,
I know people who have spent a
maybe.
lot of money who are like, yeah, dude, I'm going to get into real estate. I had a great job. I saved up a whole bunch of money. I'm going to buy Zillow leads and I'm going to crush it. And I'm like, okay, but that's like someone who's never cooked ever, has no access to recipes, knows nothing about how to even turn on a stove, and says, I bought a whole grocery store.
A
How much of that
restaurant.
food is going to spoil, and how good, when you finally cook something, do you think it's going to taste?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great analogy because man, in my first year, I bought the Smart Zips and the Zillows and yeah. Like again, not a knock on those companies. I'm actually don't blame them at all. I made zero ROI from those investments, and I don't think it's their fault. I'm big enough to say it was a me problem because I know people that made money from those tools. All right, and we can argue the ROI of internet leads. That's another discussion. But I made all those mistakes, right? 100%. But there's a better way. There's a different way. In my opinion, you should not be allowed to spend money your first 90 days, your first 120 days in real estate, like to buy leads. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
think you got to figure out other
Well, think of it this
ways
way,
to do
right? This is a perfect example. And it's crazy how we know this to be true in real life, but somehow when we get into real estate, we throw out everything that we already know to be true. Okay, so let's take you're a billionaire. And then somehow you have this really attractive 18-year-old girl on his arm. Now, do you think it was because they had built this long standing, amazing relationship? And that's why we all know the truth. We all know
that.
the truth. Now, that's not always, but we do know statistically because guess what? We
Pretty
know
likely.
human nature. Okay? So when you go and buy leads, how deep is the relationship and your understanding? What problems do you know how to solve if you don't even know these people? If Zillow is doing most of the talking, or insert lead gen company is doing most of the talking, then you are just some person on the other side who has no connection, no relationship, and there's nothing there. And you will never understand how to serve them in a way that actually changes their life, in a way that makes them feel heard and understood. Right. And that is just something that when you just jump in and buy leads, right, you don't know these people and you haven't thought about these people. And realistically, what you're saying is, I just want to use money to buy my way into a relationship. And we all agree we know that that just doesn't work out. Not that money can't enhance a relationship. It enhances my life. It definitely helps in my marriage to not have as much of a financial burden as I did when I was super broke, right? It enhances my
Yes.
relationship to have the time to dedicate to talk to you and vice versa, and to help my kids and to support other people. But I had to know those people. I had to build those relationships so that money was an asset rather than an adversary.
100%. And and it takes time and it takes experience to learn that. The biggest issue that most newbies have is that you don't have the runway to figure that out. You just don't, right? You
Yeah.
don't have enough
Yeah.
time, you don't have enough money. So
Yeah.
you've got to find lead generation strategies, right? That you have runway for, that you have
Hmm.
time to figure out. And making a massive spend every month is just not the way to do it for most people. It's
Right.
just not the way to do it. But
Right.
Robert, then if that's, I think we've made a pretty strong case that you
Mhm.
probably shouldn't be buying leads in the first place, especially if you're new, right? Then what is the alternative if it's not that? Well, where's the bacon, right? Where's the beef if we're not going to be paying someone to get us in front of people to start those conversations? What's the alternative reality here?
Yeah. So I think that the first thing that I always would as I approach this subject is, there are unbelievable amounts of ways to get free leads. But again, if you don't understand people, if you don't understand the problems you're trying to solve, then most of the free methods, they require your ability to perceive things. They require you to understand who Gus is and then how you can help Gus. And it's because you understand Gus that you can get something without paying for it, right? The whole
Interesting.
point of buying leads is that you're not doing the work to understand people, to solve, it's the truth, to solve their
Yeah.
problems. And instead, you're saying, I want to buy my way into this relationship. So understanding who you want to serve, which this is very easy to do. I mean, you can just pick any demographic and you don't even have to stick with it, but you do need to focus on it. So there's a bunch of different ways. You can use marketplace listings. That's a great one that we've been doing a lot the last 2 to 3 years. It's part of our 100K challenge.
Facebook, right?
It's
Facebook Marketplace.
Oh yeah, Facebook Marketplace. We have,
Love it.
I would say they're we might be the best in real estate at this in what we do, because I don't know anybody who's even come close. We've gone to big conventions and we have team leaders around the world who are like, "Wait, what? How are you guys doing it at that level?" Right? So marketplace listings or just Facebook groups in general. People just don't understand how good Facebook is for real estate specifically.
100%.
Um, there are things like YouTube, but I'm going to be honest with people. YouTube is not free even when it's free. YouTube requires an unbelievable amount of money because of the whole time issue we talked about. You
Yeah.
almost have to pay your way into YouTube because you need an editor to offset your time, because you just won't have enough time to build your business if you're editing. So it's like you see people that say, buy my $5,000 course, and now you're going to have instant free leads on YouTube forever. Now, I'm not saying they're being deceitful. What I'm saying is that the messaging isn't quite clear, because the reality is that there's a lot of work that goes into YouTube being done right, and so I would not recommend that. And the reason why I'm clarifying that, right, of social media. Now there are others. You can do TikTok and Instagram. But to be honest, I know some of the biggest influencers in those space in real estate, and their conversion is still much lower than me or most of us on Facebook. They have to
100%.
do. way
the
more.
content game, you're a content creator. You're a content creator. If you're gonna go like hard on YouTube or TikTok, I think it's a similar problem. And Instagram of all the is that way as well. I mean, there's competition on there. I mean, there's you're
Oh yeah, their
competing
algorithms are.
for those
I mean,
eyeballs.
I'm gonna be honest. Their algorithms are horrible, right? TikTok. I'm competing against everyone on TikTok. That doesn't even make sense, but that is the truth, right? Like TikTok,
Yes,
you can go look that in their pages, and they'll tell you, like, yes, like the For You page. I'm competing against Kim Kardashian in real estate for
100%.
some reason. Tell me why that's a thing. That doesn't even make sense, right? So again, you can leverage partners from hairdressers. By the way, we just taught about this. Coffee meetings with people who are already working with your ideal clientele. Um, I'm not even kidding. Hairdressers to estate attorneys to insurance. Like there's just so many different things. That's a great way to get free leads as well. There's so many different avenues, but it really just all stems from who am I trying to reach? Once you know who, then you answer the question of where are they? And then is there anybody around them that could help me build this relationship as well? And when you just start to understand, again, this is why it's so important. Like you have to understand these people. Agents come to me all the time and I go, who do you want to work with? And they go, first time home buyers. I'm sure you've heard that one before.
100%.
And I go, awesome, great. Why? Well, I just love teaching people. Do you not love teaching people who aren't first time home buyers? Well, no, I love teaching them too. Okay, so it's not unique to first time home buyers. Okay, well, what else about first time home buyers? Well, I just can't wait for them to have the excitement of getting their first home. Okay, tell me how that's really a value proposition, though. Tell me how that brings them any value. Like, what do you do to actually help them in a way that if I put you in a room with 50 other agents, you say, no, I'm actually different, and here's how, right? And that stems from understanding your audience. So that's the most important thing. You just have to first identify who they are. Who do you want to serve? If they are first time home buyers, fine. Where are they? Right? What ways do you reach them? Are they on Facebook? Is it in a group? Do you want to do it in person? Now you kind of have to analyze yourself. Do I want to do this in person? Am I really bad? I'm not going to cold call. It's okay to say, guys, you're not going to cold call. You just got to be honest with yourself. If you're not going to cold call, you're going to have to do something else, though. I think you get a
100%.
lot of agents who are like, I'm not going to cold call, and therefore I won't do anything else.
Yeah, like cold calling is encompasses everything, right? 100%. I agree with you, and and I think that that process of identifying, who is your target market, because if you're working with, a lot of these first time home buyers, maybe they're not going to be on Facebook. Maybe Facebook is going to be a little bit of an older demographic. If
Yeah.
you want to work with move up and move down buyers, I'd say a disproportionate number of those people are going to be on Facebook, right? Because tends to be a little bit of an older demographic, right? Or I had one of my clients that like specialized in VA, like everything to do with VA, because her husband's a veteran and she just
Yeah.
understands that community inside and out. And they are like 99% on Facebook, right? In
Hmm.
her area. I think this was Atlanta. So like you have to kind of try and find where your people are going to be at. But you said a bunch of different options there, Robert. And I think all of them are good, all of them are viable.
Yeah.
I want to drill down into a couple, right? Because I think
Yes.
I want to get actionable. I want to give people some great
Yes.
nuggets, and I've seen you in action, and you're excellent, amazing at a few of those. I would select, I would separate, marketplace, which I think many people misunderstand and do
Yes.
not value
Yeah.
enough, right?
They're missing
And
it.
I want to talk about Facebook groups, another
Yes.
very misunderstood,
That's that's
because
my
people,
personal. Yeah.
everyone hates the agent that just posts the listings every week on the Facebook
Uh,
group. Like everyone knows that guy, and I'm guessing you're not recommending to be that guy. So
yeah.
if that's not the right way to do it, why do you think agents misunderstand these two sources, the marketplace, Facebook marketplace, Facebook groups, and what's the right way to approach them?
So this is thank you for asking that question instead of just how do I make money? Because the making the money is an after effect. It's a cause, right? It's the effect from the cause. And a lot of times I love to teach relationships first because then no matter where you go and what you do in any job, in any
That's so
industry,
true.
now you have real tools and real assets that help you. Like people ask me, because I have multiple companies, and they're like, wait, how are you doing well in that when your background's real estate? And I'm like, no, my background's people. My background is people. And that is applicable in every industry. So, um, when it comes to it, relationships, I love to put in the concept of marriage because I feel like most people can understand this. If you go to your wife and you have a problem with her, or you just want your relationship to get better, do you go up to her and you go, hey, listen, you need to change. You're terrible. Now, let's say that you're even right, right? Let's say that this person is doing
100%.
things wrong. Do you think that things are going to get better or worse?
Worse in the
Duh.
short term and in the long term. That's it.
So when you go to Facebook and you say, I'm the most important person in the room and you should work with me, everybody goes, what a B word.
100%.
They're like, look at this self centered person who could care less about, and that may not be your heart. Listen, there are many times where I went to my wife and I didn't think about how she would receive my words and I hurt her. So I'm not saying that if you're the guy who does those posts that you're bad. You're a bad person with malicious intent. What I'm saying is you're forgetting that you should come with a humble heart to serve. You come in to serve. And so when you go through those Facebook groups, it's not about you telling people how great you are. Okay? I beat out the number one Remax team in the world continually in Facebook groups. Now, they're better than me. They're better than me objectively on paper. They've got more Google reviews. Great. And by the way, the shout out to Gary Ashton. He's amazing and he runs an unbelievably powerful team, right? So there's no insult there, but I'm saying contrast, right? Just like he could list a billion things that he totally crushes me in, right? But the thing is that if you go to a post and someone says, I'm looking for a real estate agent to help me with this home, what do you think of those 500 comments that are in there? What do you think most of them say?
Oh, me. I'll list your home. Like me. I'm the best. I'm the best.
Easy,
I've got this award. I've got, this. Oh, I'm amazing. Like, me.
right?
It's me.
Or they
Me,
say
folks.
redundant things that we all already know or assume to be true. Oh, hi, I'm a real estate agent. Duh.
You're responding.
Right? Could you imagine like you're talking to a police officer in full uniform and he goes, "I'm a police officer." Yeah, I went to you and said, "Officer, can you help me?" So I think we've already established that. And then, they go, "Well, I'm local. I've always lived in Nashville, Tennessee." Well, yeah, I didn't think that someone in Texas was offering to help me with the home in Nash. Why are you saying these things? Like
This is a
it's
Nashville Facebook group. This is a Nashville Facebook group, right? Come
it's
on.
so frustrating and people actually get angry and that's why they don't respond to any of the comments
True.
because they all sound the same and they look the same and you basically told them, "Hey, I'm just as replaceable as everybody else in this comment thread."
100%.
So the script to flip the script to get actionable is instead when someone says, "Hey, I'll use a real life example, right? I'm moving from Georgia to Tennessee." Okay. I'm moving from Georgia to Tennessee. I need an experienced real estate agent to help my husband and I and our two kids. I need to be in this location. And my husband's a teacher, and I have my own Etsy shop. Now, what do you think people said in the 500 comments? This is a real life example. I love using this one. It's one of my favorite ones. I love blah, blah, blah. I've lived here 25 years. I run the number one team. I do all of this stuff because I'm amazing and great. Awesome. You solved zero problems. You were unrelatable entirely. I mean, right? I came in and I said, okay, what did this person actually say? What did they really say? When someone asks for someone experienced, what are they really saying? I'm uncertain. I'm not confident. And I need someone who is confident.
Gotcha.
Okay? So now we need to address that. When they mention that they have an Etsy shop, that means self-employed. That means complicated income. So what they're saying is, I'm aware financially that there's something here that might cause us some problems. When they mention that they're moving from out of state, What they're saying is, I haven't done this before, or this is a major concern of mine. This is a lot of work. I need someone who understands this process because I'm a bit nervous about this because we don't talk about things when we're asking for help. We bring up things that we need help with, right? And so, like, that's one of the biggest things. So, my comments are going to be something like, great, I've got a buyer's handbook of everything you need to know about moving from out of state into Tennessee. I actually have a plan that directly addresses the problems you're facing from out of state. Experienced agent, don't tell them you're experienced, show them you're experienced. We've all been burned by experienced people who were frauds, who were liars, who just weren't what they claimed to be. Hey, by the way, Etsy shop, that might be a little complicated income, but don't worry. I know exactly how to work with those types of incomes. So I'm going to connect you with someone like that. Okay, so now I'm addressing each problem. I'm already telling them experience without because I'm showing them that I'm experienced. I know exactly what to do. And then I said, by the way, what do you sell in your Etsy shop? Maybe I can incorporate it into my business for closing gifts for clients.
Oh wow, nicely
I
sharing that thought.
basically just said, working with me has the potential to not just save you money, but make you money. And I meant that sincerely because I love serving my clients and I love supporting them if they bring something of value to my other clients. That's a win win, man.
100%.
Who do you think out of 500 comments got that?
The one that sounded like you. So
That was
I feel
me,
good about
right?
that.
That was
100%.
me. And I was a new agent at that time, by the way. And I got the listing referral to sell their home in Georgia. I got them to buy here in Tennessee. And then I got another referral from them later on. So we're talking about $25,000 just because I took the time to actually listen, actually understand, and actually solve their problems. But do you see how you'll have me, the one agent who does that, and then you have 499 agents that commented, and then those are the agents that tell you that Facebook groups don't work.
100%. But
That's
like,
what
and
I
their
was trying to
response,
get through to everybody
they're
listening here
unserious.
is they'll say 499, listen, it doesn't work. And I said, really? Man, well, someone should tell my bank account because it did work. Someone should tell the
100%.
people I served.
Yeah. 100%. And and Robert, I think that attitude, that service minded, that coming from contribution, coming from a place of service, I think that shines through. And I think so. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I also gotten a lot of business from Facebook groups, and I found that because that's a slam dunk. Someone asking for an experienced agent, I think that's a great way to jump in and get their attention. I have found that even if the question or the need is only tangentially related to real estate, and you're the person that just comes out, just head and shoulders above the rest on adding value and demonstrating your expertise, that can turn into a referral too. In
People,
my experience, I've seen it. People
yes.
are like, someone asking, a classic example. Hey, I need a new landscaper. My guy retired, or they're just unreliable now. They're never showing up on time. I need this, tradesperson who can help me out. And and I'll come in guns blazing. Oh, I totally understand. Here's my vetted,
Yep.
verified,
Yep.
vendor list. Right. I only give this out to my clients, but you know what? I mean, yeah, there's a reason I have that, right? So you
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to share it. This is one that I handcrafted and vetted, and these are trusted people that I know by name. And tell them the Gus sent you, right? Give them a
Yes.
call,
And then I
and
would
they'll give you the VIP
pre-negotiate
treatment.
with any person. I would pre-negotiate that the first service they ever did for a referral I sent them was actually special and unique. They got something.
Love that.
I don't
Love
care
that. Even
what we
better.
had to work
Even
out,
better.
right? And like gold nuggets right here, guys. Someone looking for boxes. Why do people look for
Ooh,
boxes?
moving.
One of two
Moving.
reasons, right? They're moving, or the off chance, the very rare off chance that they're spring cleaning. But to be honest, I have yet to really find someone who is asking for boxes that isn't moving, or is asking for boxes for someone else that's moving. So looking for boxes. I used that all the time. And then I ended up building and moving package because I saw the demand for boxes. And again, I understood my audience. I started to realize if all these people are asking for boxes, you know what that means? They're forgetting boxes. So I started creating moving packages that had boxes and bubble wrap and other things that I knew solved problems. I would
Love it.
say 8 out of every 10 clients, I would always ask them, by the way, Gus, do you need some more boxes because you're moving?
Yeah,
Eight out of
no
10
one
are
ever
like,
has enough
oh, yeah,
boxes.
we could always have some
No,
more.
no one has enough boxes. Right?
Right?
100%.
So boxes,
100%.
anybody asking about crime, amenities, schools. I mean, again, if you already live in a school zone, typically you're not going to ask questions about it because you're already familiar. But what's really awesome is that we do have an uprising in parents becoming more hyper aware of what's happening at school. And so that means they're going to be more hyper aware of decisions they could be making relevant to their kids. So if you've got someone asking about a school shooting, I'm not kidding. Be a light. Go there and provide calm, hopeful, honest information and resources. Hey, if anybody, oh my gosh, you ready for this one, dude? I just
Yeah.
remembered I just did this one. Okay, so this is what I believe about being a light. And I just did this and it works so well and it's so good for people. We had a huge tornado scare happening in Tennessee. Now, what do most people do? I'm afraid, I'm worried, I'm hiding. And I said, listen, understandably, remember every lead and every future client and past client is also feeling those emotions right now. If you actually care, why don't you reach out to all of them and say, hey, here's a list of storm shelters in Tennessee.
Wow.
Hey, after the storm, right? After it happens and everybody's okay, check in on them. Are you guys doing all right? Do you need anything? Go bring them some water. Go save a life if you need to. Go borrow your buddy's truck and go help them move debris. Go be a light, right? For those who weren't impacted, but were still afraid and don't want to go through that again, have you ever thought about hooking them up with storm shelter referrals? Have you ever thought about hooking them up with, like, let's say you and I were talking, Gus, and you were actually shaken. Maybe I would send you a book on how to survive tornadoes. I'm going to be there for you, man. I'm going to. And I'm going to actually show you in more than just words that you're not just a transaction. That the I don't just reach out to you when I want money. I reach out to you when you're scared. I reach out to you when you're hurting. I reach out to you when you're uncertain about your future. I'm there for you.
100%.
And guess what? When someone is looking at the most stressful moment in their life, one of the most stressful moments, which is buying or selling a home, top three right there, they're going to remember the guy who was there for all their other very stressful moments in life.
100% as a resource, like, wow, holy cow. Right. Robert, definitely cares, coming from contribution, knows what he's talking about, competent, person, who else would I could use his service, right? It
And
might not
all
even
those
be them.
vendors,
Might not even be them.
all those vendors that you have turned around and brought business to, you can teach them. Like, this is the depth of what I go to, man. It's insane. You can teach them. One, you can get paid for the referral you send them,
100%.
RESPA compliant and NAR ethics compliant. Okay. And you can get them to send referrals back to you.
100%.
So you could build a whole business around you just being an awesome human being who is there for people in need.
Yeah. And it's that, like I said, that service mindset that come, when you put yourself in that place, the opportunities abound. People might struggle with this at first. I understand it. It's a little bit of a mindset shift. But once you get into that mindset, all you see are people you can help. I promise you that's true.
Yes.
I got 100% on your
Yes.
Facebook feed, in these groups, on the different forums. I like Reddit. Reddit has, it's another format. It's a
Reddit's
different system,
amazing.
but it's the same thing. They're small communities, and they're usually geographically based. A lot of them are like geographically based, and they have the exact same concerns and questions and fears and wants that you see on
Yeah.
Facebook. Same concept,
Yeah.
and it's more of an anonymous, community. So there's that, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to be anonymous.
Oh,
You
I've worked
can
on
be.
Reddit, man.
You don't
Reddit's
have. 100%.
fantastic.
You know, I've gotten a lot of business from Reddit, and the principle is the same. People ask a question, and I want to help, right?
That's right.
And people will slip into those DMs and go, "Hey, man, you know, give me your information. I want to, you know, contact you for something else," right? So
Yeah.
that's it. But it starts from being a resource, helping out, and
Yes.
you know, in my experience, it's rarely going to be the I need this person to help me right now. Those don't happen that often. But the
Yeah.
ones that happen all day, every day are people that need some help, right? Like that happens all day, every day. Like you said, in a related question of someone that might be thinking or probably is going through the process of relocating or knows someone that's going through the process of
And again,
relocating.
if you solve problems, what
Yeah,
happens is that, let's say, Gus, I wanted to work with you and you weren't ready yet, but I still
yeah,
solved your problems. Someone else in your sphere is going to have the same problem as you, and I'm going to be the guy who helps solve that problem. You're much more likely to refer someone to me that has an immediate problem you relate to that I help solve than turning around and going, is this person going to buy or sell? Should I send them to Robert? People don't think like that,
no, really.
right? When you've been through a divorce, okay, and then someone else is, you remember the people that were there at that time, but
100%.
you have to have had the experience with them, right? And so what happens is you've got all these agents who are expecting referrals and expecting these things and expecting people to treat them well, but they have not done anything to earn that business. They've not done anything to earn that relationship. You should just give to me because what? I'm pretty? Because what? I have a license like everybody else? Like, no. You work with me because you want to send me people because I helped you when you needed help. I have no problem sending people to my chiropractor. I have no problem sending people to the various resources that I have that worked for me, that helped me in my time of need.
You remember, you remember who was in the trench with you. And you also remember like who wasn't. I mean, 100%. That's just how we work, right? That's like I think it's human nature. And
And I'll
and
beat
and in
them
those
out too.
moments,
The thing is that remember all the leads. Well, let's go back to the original question, right? And buying leads, right? Here's what's awesome. Someone's going to still buy the Zillow leads. No
100%.
problem. I'm not judging that. As long as I do my job, I will beat out the person who buys the Zillow leads 99% of the time because I understand the audience and how I built my relationship to that audience is so much deeper and so much more impactful. You think they care more about you because you came from Zillow? No. In fact, it sets the relationship up front that this is transactional.
Sure.
Zillow is nobody's delusional. Zillow is there to make money. Nobody goes to Zillow.com and says, "These are my new family members." No, like,
They're gonna help me out. Yeah.
right. We know we go to Zillow, and if they're going to say, want us to connect you to an agent, we know business is occurring. A transaction is happening. Versus, man, Robert was there for me continually, and he's a real estate expert. I don't know why, but I just trust this guy. I don't know
100%.
why, but I just feel like Robert's going to take better care of me. Of course I am, because I've already proven it to you time
You
and time
started, that's how
again.
you started the relationship. The relationship
That's right.
started from a value exchange, right? Versus, you know, just kind of getting thrown together by the algorithm, like randomly, you know.
That's
And
right.
again,
Exactly.
not that you can't add value to these folks, not that you can't have like a good relationship. It's just
Of
way
course.
harder. It's
It is
just way
harder.
harder. Like way harder, and you've got the massive expense, and you've got to give it time, and your likelihood of success, like what we talked about, is just that much lower, right? It's just
Right.
that
And
much
then the
lower.
truth is, it's like for people who buy leads, again, I'm actually not against buying leads. What I'm against is not serving people, right? What I'm against is trying to buy relationships. That does not do anyone any good. And what happens is that if you don't know how to generate leads, what you're really saying is you don't know how to connect to people because that's what lead generation is. And if you don't know how to connect with people and you rely entirely on Zillow sending you leads, then you're still going to have the same problem. Your conversion will still suck because you don't understand people and you don't know how to talk to them and you don't know how to solve their problems. And so then you go, I spent all this money. I mean, how many posts do we see it, Gus? How many posts do we see? I've spent all this money and I'm canceling Zillow because what? While the team over here absolutely crushes it on Zillow, maybe it's because the team was built by an agent who spent a long time understanding people. And then when they got Zillow leads, they knew exactly how to take those leads and they already knew those people versus an agent over here is like, it just doesn't work. You don't understand people and they know it. And you weren't able to convince them that you are worthy of their trust. That's just all it is. And it sucks, but it's the truth.
100%.
Truth.
100%. But plainly said. And Robert, we don't have a ton of time left, but I do want to ask you, because that's a great approach from the Facebook group. It's a community. People are asking for help a lot of times. You can offer that. How do you contrast that to something like Facebook Marketplace, where, to be honest, that's not what people are posting about, right? They're not posting for asking for help or a specific problem. How do you carry over the service first mentality, that value add mentality, comfort into someone that reaches out through Facebook Marketplace? How do you make that transition? I'm in a little bit of trouble, kind of, bringing that
Yeah.
approach to Facebook Marketplace. How do you carry it over?
Yeah. Again, great question. So it's really actually at the end of the day, you're gonna you're gonna take time to learn how to understand people still. You're gonna learn, okay, people in Facebook groups, they're asking these questions and they're looking for these things. But people on the Facebook marketplace, their approach is different. They have different intentions, different motivations, typically, right? You're going to find averages, you're going to find commonalities, and you will. And so when you're looking at it, one is you're choosing the listing. All right. If you post a land listing and someone responds, what you already inherently know is a couple things. One is price probably attracted them. So there's a good chance they're financially strapped. Okay. Two, they probably want to build. So control, customization. Maybe they're fed up with their current HOA, right? I'm understanding all these things because I know the people, why people typically buy land, right? And so you're going to turn around and have value that you offer them, right? So if someone inquires from me about land, I'm already going to have a list of things valuable to bring to them that are statistically very likely relevant to them. So, Gus, you come in, you're like, tell me about land, right? Or is this still available, right? The button. Is this property still available? Instead of just saying, yes, want a tour? Right? Like, again, it's so overwhelming, right? You can just come in with a little bit of, I'm someone who just, I'll take the risk, even if it might backfire. I'm willing to take the risk because I filter faster. I mean, be like, yeah, Gus, it's still available. And I'll usually shoot a video for this, by the way, too, because I like to stand out. And so this is what I'd say, like, hey, Gus, I would actually say your name because it's on Facebook. Hey, Gus, yeah, Robert here with Epic Realty. I'm a real person. The land is still available. And here's something really cool about this piece of land. And then I give him something cool. By the way, the price on this is actually really good. There's another acre over here. And dude, it is actually about 2 times as expensive. So this is actually a pretty good deal. But something you might want to know about this land that you can't see in the pictures, don't worry, I'm an expert. I got this. Is there's a slope on the backside. So we're going to be mindful of that. What are you looking to do with that?
Boom.
It crushes it, dude. But now let's say the median price point is 350 for a house in your area. And then someone is turning around and you post a listing and it's 500K. What does that tell you? Most people are not inquiring. Some do. We all know the what do they call it? Window shoppers.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are actually a little bit more conservative, because marketplace feels a little bit more like you don't say, is this still available on Dave Ramsey's mansion in Tennessee when it was $15 million? Like you don't ask that if you're someone who's making 60, 70K a year. Now, someone who's turning around and they're asking about something that's $200,000 or $300,000 more than the median price, okay, they either might have a good job, but very likely they at the least know that they have to have money. It sounds silly to say, but there's some level of self awareness, right? And so you can turn around and send a video. I always send videos. Again, I'm a really big proponent of this because most agents are too scared. So
Correct.
I'm going to stand out. I don't care. Why? Service mentality. I want them to hear my tone and see my face and realize I'm not a bot. I'm not AI. I'm a real person. I listen to them. I hear them. And then I'll find something unique about the property and I'll share it with them. By the way, Gus, did you see the bathroom? It was like the fourth picture over. What did you think about that? Then, Gus, you go back. You go back and you go, wait, fourth picture. Oh,
Oh, yeah. I might have missed it. 100%.
right? And I do this, by the way. I do this. This is how I even vet. I vet my showings. If you and I were working, Gus, and you're like, Robert,
Yeah.
weekend's coming up. I cannot wait. I want to see 17 homes. Do you think I just go, yeah, no problem, Gus?
I think you don't. You might value
Right.
your time.
But you know the average agent does. And do
100%.
you know why they do?
Order taking. Order taking.
That's right. They're afraid.
Yeah.
I have a job to serve. Now, do you dictate what the doctor does to you when he's performing surgery?
No,
Nope.
absolutely not.
You express yourself. I'm having troubles. I'm having concerns. I have issues, and I need you to solve them. I know how to solve the real estate problems best, not them. I do. And so I actually vet them in the same way that I would on a Facebook marketplace. So anyway, hopefully that answered your question very briefly
100%.
on the Facebook
100%.
marketplace.
I love it, and that's a great, it's a taste, it's an hors d'oeuvre. Rob, what other question? My final question for you is, Robert, if people want to drill down even deeper on these kinds of techniques, on this overall strategy, it's like a philosophy. I think it's a philosophy of lead generation, how to approach lead generation in a very different way.
Yeah.
What is the best way to reach out to you? Drive the learning, to a next level. What do you recommend people do?
Super easy, and I am loaded with resources because I love to give. I really do. So one is my newsletter is phenomenal. I put so much work into it. It's free. It's got replays, slides, bullet points, top mistakes, everything. You and I have done one with Gus. Like there's a lot that goes into it and has hundreds and hundreds of people that have subscribed to it. So that's one way. The Agent Alliance newsletter is one way. The second way is I do live training on Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Central. And I welcome everyone. I don't care what brokerage you're at, team you're on, not on a team, new, experienced. Come in. Like you said, Gus, before, my training is different. It
Yeah.
is different.
It is action packed. It is action packed, and you walk away, learning something and putting it
You've
into
already
practice, right?
accomplished something by the end of the call.
Which is really really impressive. So yeah, I see it. It's very different, very unique. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in a 1 hour training session on a weekly basis. A lot of thought goes into it, and a lot of thought goes into that newsletter too. Let me say that, right? I have a newsletter. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't nearly put in the amount of time and effort you put in your newsletter. You send one once a week. I send them. I'll probably send them a lot more frequently, but you go deep, right? You don't go for numbers. You go for like depth and
yes.
mastery on any topic you're really
Yes.
talking about. So I think people should subscribe to your newsletter to see how to do a really good newsletter. Like they should be doing something like that for their audience, right? Yours really got me thinking about
Yes, dude.
maybe
Yes.
send out less newsletters, but something just really add a lot more depth and a lot. So people
Yeah.
should subscribe just to check it out, right?
Yeah. And then
And see how to do that.
there's one last place where if they really want to get into it, we run challenges. We have 100K in 100 days challenge. We've
There we
ran
go. There we go.
eight of them now, so hundreds and hundreds of agents. We're talking agents. Shout out to Seth Brown, right? He came in, he was doing 5 deals in like just under a year, and then within 3 months with us, he was closing a deal every 2 weeks. Um, I kid you not. Then we just had shout out to Renee. Like I put the names out there, guys, so you know. Like you can go fact check me. You can go see these people. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to go experience it. Renee, who's in her pipeline now, she's set to have 300,000 in commission. Like that's my thing too. If you're not
It's
making
crazy.
at least $360,000 a year in real estate, you need my plan. Please, please do yourself a
I
favor.
love that.
I've done all the
I love
work.
it.
I've mapped it out for you. We do live calls on this. Go get involved in our 100K challenges. It's gonna
100%.
be awesome.
And if you join that challenge and are a complete failure and only do an extra 100,000, probably still worth your time. It probably is for most of you guys watching this. I know it.
Yeah.
I know it, right? So I think it's a great one. We'll drop a link to everything you just mentioned. We'll drop a link below. Check out the comments below. You'll see it. Check it out. Robert, thanks so much for jumping in today, being very gracious with your time. Appreciate you, man. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, everybody.